Welcome to another episode of Questions for Reflection. I'm Susan Farmer. My business is Astrology and Soul, and my tagline is Embrace All of You, because that's my goal, is for everyone to understand themselves and embrace themselves. Today, our subject is the full moon. What is it? I wrote it down. There's so many words. Full moon, partial lunar eclipse in Pisces. Why full moon before it? Because all eclipses are a new or a full moon. All right. So your call to action is, again, to send in those videos. We're having fun looking at them and deciding which ones to run on Reels and whatnot. Remember, you have to sign the consent, or say you consent. Send it to Susan@astrologyandsoul.com and just throw a tidbit in and you'll get a $5 credit. That can add up. So those will be super fun. I can't see without my glasses. All right, so this is what we're going to cover in this video today. We're going to do just like a quick general overview of eclipses hopefully without all the sciencey jargon. And we're going to talk a little bit about what people say the general themes are for eclipses, both solar and lunar. We're going to go through some dates to track so that you can go back and see, hey, is this a thing in my life? Is this not a thing in my life? And then we are going to go over the partial lunar eclipse to some degree, probably a smaller degree, about meaning and whatnot, for the 17th of September. Now, I'm pre-filming this, so I don't really know what's happened, right? I already went over the call to action for you. And here is the question for reflection for this episode. Are you having clearer spiritual insights? Now, what does spiritual mean? That is different to every single person. For me, it's like I just feel like there's a sense of a different energy that I can feel. And if I've been trying to make a decision or thinking about something, I just get these insights that are like, wow, okay, I hadn't seen that. And they just feel to me otherworldly. So I know some people call it like the veil is thinner. I heard that from Nadia Shah years ago. And this time frame pertains to the 2 weeks between eclipses that are happening together. So are you having clearer insights? You can put spiritual in there. Just understand, I know everybody defines these words differently. So along with eclipses, like, do you think they are good or bad omens? I hear a lot. Or if you Google it, it's a disturbance of natural order. Yes, but is it? Because it happens every 6 months. So is it a natural order or is it a disturbance of natural order? Winter comes every year. It's not here every day. The seasons change. Well, depending where you live, right? The seasons change. That's a natural order. So I don't know. That just kind of clicked my brain. And then what is true for you? What is true for you? All right, so let's begin. Remember to send in your videos for that $5 credit per video, right? So they can add up. $5 doesn't seem like a lot, but it is when they can add up. So let's get a little info on eclipses. They come in pairs, just like the new and full moons, and actually they are new and full moons. They are close to the nodes of the moon, and that is just a mathematical equation that someone has put together that represent where the north node and the south node are. So if you know what signs the north node and south node are in right now, you'll essentially know when the eclipses are going to happen. Right now, they are in Libra and Aries. So we are going to have eclipses around the Libra Aries time frame of the year. The nodes move just about every 8 months. So easy talk. A solar eclipse is a new moon. It's just an amped up, big time new moon. A lunar eclipse is a full moon. All the same themes apply, although just do not set intentions. Sit back and see what unfolds for you. So let's talk a little bit about solar eclipses. A solar eclipse happens when the moon passes between the sun and the earth, and it casts a shadow on earth that either fully or partially blocks the sun's light. In some areas, right? It doesn't happen in every place of the world. It comes up in different places. So a lot of the symbolism that I've heard about eclipses are it's a new lane, like you're being moved to a new lane in whatever area of life it's happening for you. So like I've often said you're going down the freeway and an exit's coming up and you're cruising down and all of a sudden you get just pulled off this exit. Big shifts. You know, I've heard something is being wrapped up from the lunar eclipse 6 months ago. It is a balance of the sun and the moon because they're coming together. Or if you want to say it differently in terms of masculine and feminine, which, you know, who knows in today's world, but it's just a respective type because the moon is representative of feminine, or I always forget yin and yang. The sun is masculine, whichever is yin and yang. I think yang. I think yin is moon. I can't even remember. Isn't that funny? That's just not a terminology that fits in my head. So it is interesting, and I think it might be more out there this time because Mars just moved into Cancer, and a theme of Mars being in Cancer are feminine, I don't want to say feministic, but maybe I'm not a huge feminist. So yeah, it's just a time when things like that come up with this Mars action in this sign of nurturing, caring motherhood. So that's an interesting thing to watch this time. We're going to move on to lunar. A lunar eclipse is an emotional reaction, they say, that happens from the latest solar eclipse. So that one would be back in the spring for us right now. Or it could be something manifesting. I've also heard during a lunar eclipse that your emotions and subconscious patterns will be revealed, and that it's a time for reflection, introspection, and self-care. It happens, and it's an astronomical event. A lunar eclipse is when the moon moves into the Earth's shadow, and it causes the moon to be darkened. I know, a little sciencey there for you. So to help you, since this will come out before, these are great things to think about before the lunar eclipse on the 17th or around there. During these 2 weeks, really think about these things. Track back. There was a solar eclipse on October 14th, 2023. So 2023, about a year ago in Libra. And this one you could see where I'm at in Utah, and it was really cool. I had a great experience going and watching where it was going to occur the most dominantly, and I just loved it. That one was paired with the last March, so that was a solar eclipse. Now, so if you're going back 6 months to see if something has panned out since the solar eclipse to the lunar eclipse, or something has been resolved, or there was a fast shift or a small shift. These are all the things I want you to be looking at So you would go back to that solar eclipse in October of 23 and then look in March 25th of 2024, where there was a lunar eclipse also in Libra. So what do you see? What do you see? Is there something that you see? Libra is about harmony, balance. It can be about relationships, but it's mostly going to fall where it's going to happen in the area of life where it falls for you. That's why it's always hard to do these general astrology things, because I don't have your chart in front of me. The next pair was April 8th of 2024. Now that one happened at 19.24 degree Aries, and that one's going to be paired with this one on the 17th, September 17th, 2024 at 25.41 degrees Pisces. So ask yourself those questions. So it's in between. My question for reflection is really in between these two eclipses. I want you to pay attention. I want you to see, but it's also going to inform you if you go back and look at those pairs and see if it's actually a thing. I don't really know. I've heard so many things about eclipses, and they are things I've been taught. I can tell you the biggest ones for me when there really was like a shift have only been when it's been in my, I'm going to say number one, on my luminaries. So for me, it was the sun, and number two, in the angular houses. So if you don't know what that means, let it go. Okay, now we're going to speak to the lunar eclipse on the 17th. That's happening September 17th. This video will probably come out sometime around then. That is encompassing. So every new moon and full moon work together. It's a new moon cycle. So this, there's so many different cycles, right? You have the eclipse cycles, you have the new moon cycles, you have blah, 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 blah. But this lunar eclipse is hooked to that new moon that happened on September 2nd in Virgo at 11 degrees. There was a lot of Venusian things, there was Saturn things. I've talked about it, I believe, on a recent question for reflection. So this solar eclipse is paired with the lunar eclipse. I don't even know what that means, so take that out. This one is paired with the solar eclipse, which we just talked about. Do you see any of the differences? It is from the 8th of April. This one is pretty special because it's lighting up all those slow outer planets I've talked about that are all together. This lunar eclipse is actually on Neptune. It is, the moon is one body with Neptune. So if there were a time where you could see some spiritual themes or being able to get clearer answer, it would be now, in the best respects to Neptune, right? This is also a really special time with all these outer planets. Pluto, the planet of transformation, Uranus, the planet of experimentation and changing, like huge shifts and change for you. And then Neptune, that really spiritual, deep, walking with God type planet. So all those three are coming together, and this lunar eclipse is shining a light on all of those. So see what happens for you. There's so many different schools of thought. And what is it? What is it for you? Astrologers are humans, and they're trying to delineate for all people. Yet we all have our own birth chart, and we see life through that perspective. It's always good to know if you have an astrologer or even tarot or crystal or scientist, or everyone's looking through life through their own veil of how do they see it. And it's going to honestly be different for everyone. So as much as an astrologer or anyone else is trying to be neutral, you really can't, because the only wiring you have is what you came in with. So Again, my tagline, embrace all of you. It's best for you to think about your stuff and go back and look at how it's happened for you. This is what my upcoming classes are going to be themed around, learning how to feel it and interpret your own unique wiring so that you can embrace all of you and you feel it, you understand, you can decipher those messages from the universe a little bit easier. Again, question for reflection. Are you having clearer spiritual insights? Are you just able to understand things a little better, a little quicker? Or are you having those aha moments, especially with this being so connected to these outer planets? How are you changing? What has the transformation been in the past few years? This is a huge time with Pluto back in Capricorn and then moving back in Aquarius. How do you see those changes with Uranus ending? It's all of these planets too, all these outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, they are all going to be changing signs permanently in the next year. And they last in a planet, I think minimum of all three is maybe 7 years. So they are long cycles of change. How is that being lit up for you? Uranus, that experimentation, the revolution. You create a revolution for yourself, you become more authentic. And then Neptune is that, how am I understanding the bigger aspects, spiritual, but I hate saying that, the more untouchable aspects of life. How are you feeling those? How are you seeing those? All right, okay. Love you all. Have a great time with this question for reflection. Mwah.